Hey, hey.
Hey, hey. Can you hear me clearly?
I can. You're breaking up just a tiny bit, but I don't know if that's because of actual signal or what.
1 second here. Let me try to fix that. Okay, how's that?
I think you're better.
Okay, good. I hope so. Yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to today.
Oh yeah, I gotta say, you're gonna be at the end of our show. You are basically gonna have been talking for like 6 hours.
Basically am. I got a 15-minute break. Yeah, for anyone listening and recording, I did a show this morning with Real Talk All Day. Shout out to him. He is awesome. And we did a 4-hour show for about 4 hours, something like that. It was really fun.
Yeah,
So we had a good time. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up. So,
yeah. Welcome everyone. I see a couple people listening live. Welcome. This is the Wake Up America podcast. We are a conservative talk host show, and we invite everyone to add comments. We love adding comments. That is really what gives our show a difference between other conservative podcasts. The only things that we ask of you is that you keep them clean. We really want to limit the cussing, so that way this can reach out to more people. And we ask that you just keep it smart. Don't argue stuff that even you know is dumb, or don't scream into your microphone trying to get a rise out of us.
yeah, don't be triggered, and just be factual about your stuff. If you're going to make a claim, I'm all for it. Just provide some backup, provide some information.
Right.
If you don't want to provide it in the show, then provide it to me privately, or Spencer, just message us or something like that. So you can get your information in, because we love hearing it. That's what we're here for, guys. So we're here to have a conversation.
Yeah. And so we are going to go ahead and open today's show. Hopefully today will be a fun episode, but we are going to start with some sad news. If talk about that, Colson.
Yeah. So recently, a couple of days ago, there was a officer, the New Mexico State Police, and he was shot. It was really sad. He was shot on a simple roadside pullover. His name was Darian Jarrett. He was gunned down in cold blood. It's basically what it was. He pulled there was a guy he pulled over. He had really tinted windows, and he could not see. So he pulled him over for that. And then when he pulled him over, he asked him to step out of the vehicle. After talking to him for a second, he asked him to step out of the vehicle. And asked him to step out of the vehicle and walk back with him to his cruiser. As he backs away from the passenger side window and starts walking towards the rear end of this truck, past the truck bed. He's about 2/3 of the way down the truck bed when the man kind of blunders out of his truck, walks past, and then after kind of like coyly swinging his AR-15, pointing at the ground, he pulls it up real fast, aims it, and shoots the officer. And then a minute later, he walks around the other side of the truck and fires several more shots into him, including one right in the back of the head.
Yep.
So,
and you can go ahead and watch. There is a video that shows all this happening. It's not for the faint of heart, but just we're asking anyone that's listening to just remember him and do everything you can to make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again. I know that
honor our officers.
Right. We aren't necessarily officers, and most of the people listening probably aren't either, but just support your officers. Let them know that they have your back.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, be supportive, and if you get pulled over for them, it's not the end of the world. Respect them. Have respect for yourself. Respect them the same way you respect yourself, and they'll respect you the same, and just be like that.
Right. And that's actually some of what you were talking about today in your show with Real Talk.
Yeah, we were talking about police brutality and stuff like that, and so just covered that, and it was a good talk. If you guys want to listen to it, shout out to him. Go listen to that. It's also bookmarked here on my account, so punch me in the face and take a look at it. But yeah. So
all right,
go ahead and get started with today.
Yeah. So sorry. Today we're going to be talking about Biden's gun policy and kind of carrying a gun. We'll see how long we spend on each one. We were kind of thinking about starting off with carrying a gun, why you should, concealed carry, open carry, topics generally related to that. So if there are people that are listening that want to add in, please feel free to add your comments about this topic.
Yes, and we will definitely be spending some fun time talking about Biden's gun policy. Oh, I'm sorry, the dictator's gun policy.
That's right. There you go.
Yep. It's essentially what it comes down to. So we just got to rely on the Supreme Court to overturn that. Anyway, getting into carrying a gun, there's two different forms of carrying. There's concealed carry and open carry. They're pretty much exactly like they sound like. We're mainly referring to handguns when we talk about this. Open carry, you're just not hiding the fact that you have one. It means you're not covering it up with your shirt. Most of the time, you're not wearing it inside the waistband. Just kind of you're carrying and it's out there for everyone to see. A lot of times, it's what you'll see at like a shooting range. It's what you see like officers. Police officers, they open carry. Military, they open carry, obviously.
Right.
But then you have concealed carry, which is what a general portion of the population will do. And that is, hiding it. So you keep your shirt over it, maybe hidden in different spots, whether it's on your waist or under your arms, under your armpits, sorry. A couple different spots you can hide it there. And there's advantages and disadvantages for both of them. And this is a little bit different topic than our main topic today, which is Biden's gun policy, but it's something that we've been wanting to talk about for a while. So we figured we'd go ahead and plug it in and we can move on to the other stuff.
Yeah, and we, I think it's related to Biden's gun policy because he's targeting a lot of things that are related even to like carrying. So since we're started off with carrying your gun, the two basic categories are open and concealed carry. And personally, I advocate for concealed carry in every single situation. I don't care where you are, unless you're maybe at the gun range where it's more having ease of access rather than actually carrying it. But the reason I advocate concealed carry, open carry generally has one major advantage over concealed carry, which is that it is much easier to get to your gun and therefore quicker. And in a shooting situation where time is of the essence, every second you waste could be another life lost. That is a very good thing to be able to just grab your gun right there, not have to mess with shirt or waistband or anything, and just pull it out and shoot the enemy. But the main reason I advocate for concealed carry for every single person out there is because with concealed carry, no one knows that you have the gun. And I know that phrase right there scares a lot of liberals, a lot of people that say, okay, maybe you can have a gun for home defense, but I should be able to know who has a gun around me. The reason that concealed carry works so well is that when you are concealed carrying, no one knows you have a gun. And that means that good people around you, the just average citizens, don't know, but that also means that the bad guy doesn't know. So if someone is wanting to hurt a lot of people, they're going to take out what resistance they think they're going to meet first. For example, if I have my gun in an open carry holster, then the bad guy who's wanting to shoot everyone is going to shoot at me first, because if he shoots at other people, that gives me time to pull my gun out and shoot him. So I think the major advantage to concealed carry is it gives you that element of surprise. And sure, you may sacrifice a second of moving your shirt, but as long as you have your drills down and you've actually practiced this, then that second is far outweighed by the ability to surprise the enemy that is trying to take everyone else by surprise.
Yep, we'll talk about, just take this comment real quick, and then we can get into why it's good to carry it all, and how it's probably one of the purest forms of your exercising your First Amendment right. Or, sorry, Second Amendment right, my bad.
There you go. All right, let's go.
Nothing wrong with the gun law. There's nothing wrong with the gun law.
So feel free to continue listening. We are going to do gun carrying first, but then we are going to go into Biden's gun policy.
Yeah, so why should you carry a gun? The simple answer, self-defense. It's pretty much the only answer. I like carrying a gun because I think it's fun to have guns. I love shooting guns, yada, yada, yada. But you carry a gun for self-defense. It protects you, whether you're sitting in a restaurant or you go to the bank and there's a bank robber who walks in while you're there, or someone decides to rob a gas station while you're getting a drink or taking a leak on the way down the road, wherever it may be. Just having a gun just gives you a little bit of self-security. And for the individuals who may argue things like having a taser. Taser has very limited range and is vastly ineffective compared to a gun. Second off, there are people who say you don't need a taser or a gun. You just need something like mace or mace/pepper spray or a knife. All of the above are very ineffective compared to a gun. There's a certain level of protection you can't reach at those things. And it's also worth mentioning that the Second Amendment protects your right to have a gun, to self-defense, both on your property and off, for the protection of your life and the protection of others.
Right. And, concealed carry. And, well, I always just normally refer to it as concealed carry because I think it's superior. But carrying a gun, period, is a safety measure, not just for you, but for everyone else around you. When you up the amount of power that you have by having a gun on you, it's that Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. You have the responsibility to protect other people. But within that responsibility, you also have the ability to protect other people. If you didn't have a gun, you can watch PragerU and all these different YouTube channels go to a college campus. They ask students how they would stop a bad guy with a gun if they didn't have a gun. And these students who are liberals and don't want people to have guns don't have an answer. They say, wait for the police or whatever. And by the time the police get there, everyone could be dead if the shooter or the bad guy who is trying to hurt people is able to have their way.
Yeah, what's that? The little catchphrase, probably not very known among non-gun owners. Response time of 911 is like 10, 20 minutes. Response time of a 9mm is about 15,000 feet per second.
Right. It's taking your safety within your own hands and not leaving it up to someone else.
Yeah. Sorry. FPS, or the feet per second of 9mm, was exaggerated, but high.
Faster.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's not really. We do have one comment. We'll go ahead and take that comment and see if we can say anything else to say about this. If not, I guess we can. I don't know. Do you want to move on to Biden's gun policy?
We can talk about the constitutionality of carrying a gun real quick.
Ooh, yeah, there you go. Sorry, the number just got real quick. It's 1,180 FPS, to be factual, for 115 grain.
Yeah, don't want to get fact checked.
Yep.
All right. Let's take it.
Yep.
In my opinion, and I think a lot of people share this opinion, the reason we should have less restrictions on legal gun carrying is because bad guys are going to carry guns no matter what. Every country that has made guns illegal or restricted access to them greatly hasn't seen a reduction in their guns. They've seen actually increase in most of their guns. They just become illegal instead of legal.
Yeah, absolutely. Criminals don't stop doing it because you made a law. Criminals are criminals because they disobey the law. So when you remove a law, when you put laws in place that block the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and people say all the time, well, that's only in terms against the government. Well, that's not actually true, because it doesn't say in order to fight the government. It just says for a well-regulated militia. And that well-regulated militia has to do with self-defense and all of the above. So, yeah, making gun laws doesn't help you. You want proof of that? Go look at cities like Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, especially Chicago. Chicago probably being the best example.
They have the strictest gun laws.
Yeah, they have some of the strictest gun laws, or maybe the strictest gun laws in the country. I'm not sure if anybody's beaten them yet. But they have just gangs that just do drive-by shootings like almost commonly. It's hard to open the Chicago news and not hear about another drive-by shooting or something, or and all that. And guns are almost illegal to get there. It's ridiculously difficult to get them, or maybe it is illegal. I'm not sure if they changed the law since I last looked. But yeah.
Right. And we are going to talk about that with Biden's gun policy, and it's insane. We can go ahead and talk about the constitutionality of carrying first real quick before we move on to Biden.
So we have 3 comments already. So maybe they'll have some questions about the constitutionality, so we can go ahead and take those real quick. Just take number 1. Kind of feels a little fast-paced today, but I think we're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the people who would own these guns aren't responsible enough to know what danger is and what danger is not. I mean, you're making it pretty black and white. Someone coming on campus with a gun, that's a whole different story. I think that needs its own. That's a whole other issue on itself. I mean, you can up campus security. If you have security that are on site, that are trained to use these weapons, well, then your response time goes down, doesn't it? Someone who has a gun and who may or may not know what's going on wouldn't have the decision-making abilities to know how severe the situation is, because they're not trained. So you'd probably see people shooting random fucking people, and people are angry and would probably end up just shooting people for nothing and wouldn't be held accountable because they would just get away with it. So,
all right. So
that's
I have
not true at all.
Things. Yeah. 1, we appreciate keeping the comments clean. If you cuss too much, we will stop taking your comments. So 1, you said that people get angry, they will just start shooting people. Name me more than maybe 1 case that has happened. 2, you said that training police officers, getting them nearby will make the response time go down, and that's correct. But the response time of someone in the situation is 0 seconds virtually, compared to however long it would take law enforcement to get there. And so that's why I advocate people that are going to carry a gun should train with it enough to be able to know how to ably handle it, rather than just strapping a gun onto your side and saying, okay, I'm good. You actually have to go through that practice so that you're able to assess a threat and you're able to respond in kind without going above and beyond what you should be in that sort of situation. So I advocate for training for people that are going to carry guns. Right, by choice. And people that carry guns are far more obeyers of the law than the average citizen is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when I emphasize by choice, that's going into the constitutionality of gun carrying and gun ownership, because let's say, for instance, you have individuals who say we need to have more training. If someone wants to own a gun, they have to be trained. It's not a bad idea in theory, but I would say that I know a lot of gun owners, and most of them have trained, whether it's on the training course or with their parents, or mostly fathers, or they're first-time gun owners and they taught themselves through training or whatever. That's something that has to be a personal choice, because it's like a lot of other things with the government. If let's say we're gonna make that a law, okay? So we're gonna make a law that says in order to get training, you have to take a test. In order to have a gun, you have to take a test, or you have to get training, right? So now you have to create this thing. Who's gonna be responsible for saying yes or no? Right? Who's that gonna be?
Right.
Who's gonna be responsible for checking and balancing them? Because every individual is biased, so someone else, has to check them. Who's going to be responsible for creating the test, and who's going to be responsible for creating the training, right? Everything has bias, and so when you create something that is restricting on such a level on one of the most basic American rights, such as gun ownership, then you pose a real stick in the mud question. That's something that the government can easily just say, okay, well, we're just going to make this an enormous test, and then everyone's going to be like, okay, well, we don't want a gun license because we're not willing to take that test. Or maybe they don't fit someone's ideal requirements for a gun owner, and so they don't pass the test. Who's going to choose who passes? Who's going to choose who fails?
Well, and that's actually another thing that I have problems with. In many states, there's a waiting period when you buy a gun. So, for example, I believe in California, I don't know the exact waiting time, but in California, you have to wait, let's say, a week from the time you purchase a gun to the time you can actually have it.
The People's Republic of California.
There you go. That's right. The People's Socialist Republic of California. And when you have that sort of waiting time, I can see the argument saying, well, the person's still getting a gun, so it's not a restriction on the Second Amendment. Sure, I can see where you're coming from there, but at the same time, when you have a waiting time for when you can get a gun, a lot can happen in 1 week. And if it's someone like a single college student who is, getting stalked, or there's some situation where someone needs a gun immediately and they have to go through a waiting period, that person could be severely harmed in that time that it takes them to decide that you are able to carry this gun.
Plus, who's going to be the one that gets to make the choice on how long you have to wait? Because it could easily just be an arbitrary decision where someone says, okay, in California, you got to wait a year if you want a gun, so you better do it early.
Right.
If you want your gun, you better think ahead, because if you don't do it, you ain't going to get it. So, I mean, who's going to be responsible for making that? That's why in our government, which currently is being violated, we have checks and balances where people can check the authority of another group in order to ensure the best democratic processes and honoring the Constitution the best. But when you remove one thing, or you put all of the control, for instance, the control of both the legislative and executive branch in the hands of one party, Democrats, then you remove some of that democratic equality, I would guess is the word I would use for it. Same thing here with this. This is like one of the most ingrained American rights. Is like basic to our country, almost basic as it can get, basic as freedom of speech and freedom of religion is the freedom to own a weapon, freedom to own a gun. And people just, they say we need to make laws about it, but those laws ain't going to help nobody, right? We have laws right now that say you have to get a background check if you want a gun. Those aren't doing anybody any favors. No, that's not true. They're having an effect. I haven't seen any studies that have accurately measured that effect. But, when it comes to non-law-abiding citizens, the criminals, which is the ones who are committing the murders, of which it is important noting about 3/4 of all gun deaths in the United States are by suicide, not by homicide. But everyone talks about the gun pandemic. It's really the depression suicide pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And the Second Amendment guarantees our ability to create a militia, and the militia is made out of the average day people. So everyone that's listening, I'm going to assume maybe half of you or more don't have carry permits. I would suggest looking up the laws in your state about how you're allowed to carry, whether you need a carry license. Some states don't. And just look, because there are a lot of leftists out there that argue that it's super easy to get a gun, and the implication there would be that it would be super easy to get a concealed carry permit. Look through your state's gun laws and figure out if they're actually as free and I can walk into Walmart, grab a gun, and I'm good. You know, even though I'm a criminal, most people are not, most states are not able to just have that happen. In fact, I don't think any states are allowed to have that happen. So I encourage you to look through your state's laws and just see what the gun laws are that are already on the books.
Absolutely, yeah. What do you think about taking some messages?
Sure, we got quite a few piled up.
Yeah, already. It's pretty fast. Thank you guys for leaving your comments. We're glad you did.
Yeah, all right, let's go.
A while back, it's been a long time, but wasn't there that church in Texas where a gunman came in and one church member had a gun and took him out? How many lives did that save? The police sure weren't there to help anybody.
Yep.
Absolutely. Honestly, I mean, yeah, there used to be a time where guns were allowed in schools. Teachers would commonly have them under their desks. You weren't going to see nearly as there were not even close to the number of school shootings that there are today. If you were to somehow create a test, or to judge the responsibility of teachers and put guns in teachers' desks, responsible teachers, obviously, I would bet my bottom dollar that there would be less gun violence if you knew that every single teacher in the school had a gun right there that they could use to mow you down if you came in and tried to kill kids.
Right. Bad guys, there's a reason that a majority of mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. It's because if I am a bad guy with a gun, I'm insane or evil, and I want to hurt as many people as possible, I'm going to go to a place where I have as long as possible to hurt people before someone shows up to stop me.
And the least amount of resistance right off the bat.
Right, because if I go to Texas and I'm a guy that wants to shoot up a place in Texas, I'm going to be much more hesitant about going out and doing anything because there's a higher chance of someone concealed carrying a gun and shooting me before I can get 2 shots off in Texas than, say, Illinois.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Take another point. Take another message from Jay. Thank you, Jay.
I think another thing that you're not taking into consideration is that a high percentage of illegal guns were actually legal guns that were purchased legally and sold illegally. So when you take away the aspect of purchasing legal guns and selling them illegally, well, then that leaves the onus on the criminals to work even harder to try to get guns in. I think you just need to up, hey, you want to hold a gun? I'll tell you what. I'd say you had to have been serving in the military. There you go. You want a gun? You have to have served in the military. Not saying how long, but if you want a gun, either be currently in the military and part of a law enforcement agency or have served in one. Then you can have a gun. And if you haven't, then why do you have a gun? Why do you have it for? America.
Okay, so I see your point of buying guns legally and then selling them illegally. I see your point there. I don't know any of the statistics there. If you could give me...
I have some.
Okay, go ahead.
They actually fight against your thing. First off, most acts of gun violence, excluding gun deaths, right? Gun deaths, excluding suicides, are committed by first-time offenders, not repeat offenders. So these are people that can easily go get a gun because their background check isn't going to show them as being bad because they haven't done anything wrong. So if you want to fight against that, well, then you're talking two different situations. Either you're talking, like Captain America, the Winter Soldier. You predict the future of everybody to judge their risk factor, or you ban guns in America, neither of which is going to happen.
And that right there is a restriction on your freedom, because if I just judge that, well, Coulson went to this school and he's in this field, therefore he has a 20% chance of being a murderer, and so I'm not going to allow him to buy a gun. That's not proactively, but that's putting a law into place against something that can't be really proved.
Yeah, you can't prove that. 2019 statistics from the Department of Justice found that 43% of criminals have bought their firearms from the black market, 6% acquired them via theft, 10% made a retail purchase, and 0.8% purchased a weapon from a gun show. So people advocating the gun show, that's almost non-existent. You want to fight it, and you can go fight the black market, and by the way, it needs police, so we have to stop defunding the police.
Right. And, okay, so there you go. You have a large statistics there, thank you, Coulson, that disprove largely your point. But even if your point were true, that a majority of guns that were used were bought legally, sold illegally, I would still say that even if that were the case, that it is still a major restriction on your freedoms to put into place a law that bans guns. So I understand that even if that were the case, that criminals were buying them that way, it's still a major restriction on more people than the small amount of good that it would do.
Yep, absolutely. I'll take another comment.
Right.
And your Constitution is also fucking old as hell, okay? You guys had to bear...
Okay, here we go. So, first off, you got canceled because you were cussing again. That's like the third or fourth time you said the F word. Please stop. Second off, I knew someone was going to say it. The Constitution's old. It doesn't have any relevance. That's got to be our next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the Constitution still have relevance today. If you want to forfeit the Second Amendment right, then you can go ahead and forfeit the First Amendment right, your First Amendment rights too. And while you're at it, you can forfeit every other right the Constitution gives you. You know what? Because that is what you do. Okay, the Second Amendment right. If you remove that, then you are removing one that has been fought for probably the longest, and you're just pushing us down a very slippery slope. And ignoring the slippery slope that sets us on, you are removing the ability of the people to fight back against an oppressive government, of which we have a pretty oppressive government in right now. And so I certainly wouldn't want any gun laws being passed at this moment in time. That right now is when I want to make sure we have them. I'm not saying that, everyone needs guns because, tomorrow the government's going to get horrible and we all have to get our guns together, band together, and march on Washington because the government's going to hurt us all and we need to turn into our own little citizens' army. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the citizens having guns is less so a call to action and more so a warning.
A preventative. Yes, it's a preventative measure against an encroaching government.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the meantime, until the government does something, if it ever gets to that point, we have other benefits that are afforded to us, such as gun carrying. Look at that little wraparound I did right there. You get gun carrying. You can protect yourself and others from criminals and people who wish to do you harm.
And I will add my comments on this. According to Senate.gov, I did look it up just to make sure that I was correct. The United States Constitution is the world's longest surviving written charter of government, quoting Senate.gov. So yes, it is old, but the fact that it works so well and still works so well in such a different world from 1787 is amazing. So you can say that it's old, doesn't mean it's broken.
Yep, absolutely. Old does not mean broken. Otherwise, all your grandparents are obsolete. I don't know though. I'm mixing a little bit of satire in today's episode.
Hey, I welcome it.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, we'll take another question or another comment.
I'm sorry, Jay Beasley is so wrong. Any gun owner usually is and should be responsible enough to have training, lots and lots of training, so that they do know what danger is, what actions to take. Keep your gun in a safe, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I mean, you say when he proposed making it mandatory, and really, I mean, I don't think you need to make it mandatory. I know a lot of gun owners, and many individuals who own guns or are planning on owning guns who are currently underage, and they are all people who have already received training, or if they don't because their parents aren't letting them have a gun right now, they're planning on it. People are I would say, maybe someone can get angry at me here for making a generalization, but I would say a majority of the population, especially with gun owners, is actually self-responsible enough to take care of themselves and do what they need to do with guns. There are exceptions for everything, but I would say that the gun-owning population of the United States is quite responsible.
Right. And I want to get every statistic I have right here. So I looked it up. You can go ahead and look it up too. 61% of firearm owners have received formal training, and that does not include informal training. So I would say a far closer statistic to probably 90% have received some form of training.
Yeah, informal refers to like you going out by yourself at the shooting range and practicing, or your parents teaching you, or anything like that.
Right.
Right. Yep. Yeah, take another comment.
Oh, SpongeBob!
No thanks.
Yep, nope. SpongeBob blade. Someone's angry at me for that.
One, I can name you 12 cases of road rage incidents that involved firearms. I'm not swearing right now, but that's too easy to do. So yeah, anything else?
Okay, I can state you a study that showed 3 million defensive uses of firearms in the United States in 1 year.
Yeah, and also not mentioning when you list those defensive cases, it's usually more than one individual that is saved.
Right, and a lot of the time the gun isn't even fired. It is showed to the bad guy. Bad guy goes, "Okay,
oh crap!"
Right. So of course, those 12 people that were shot or killed in a road rage situation is a terrible thing. Should not have happened. But that is a very small percentage compared to the number of lives that have been saved. That's 3 million cases of self-defense. That does not mean that 3 million people were saved. That's 3 million plus, because in many of those, more than one person was present.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Take another comment.
And so you're expecting so what are we? We're on campus, so we're talking about random teenagers having guns in their backpacks who should suddenly be ready for a campus attack in case someone were to shoot. And so these people with their demeanors would just, everyday student getting straight A's is just about to pull out a 9mm and start lighting someone up.
Defending themselves?
Yeah,
yep,
that's a dream world.
I'm wondering if when he says light them up, I'm wondering if he's talking about a person who is because he says training a student. I wonder if he's talking about a person who's going to be the bad guy or the good guy.
Right, and if you're the person who, in most states, you need a license to carry. If you're a person who goes through the process of buying a gun, going through the background check for that, and then going through the process to get your carry license, then you are not likely to be the person who gets little too mad and starts shooting someone, or gets, frustrated because the line's too long and starts shooting people. You're not going to be that type of person if you've gone through all the steps necessary to get to the point where you can carry a gun.
If they're the people who do that, I would say are probably mentally compromised to begin with.
Oh yeah.
I've never really heard of any of that happening. I don't doubt that there's at least a couple cases of it, of it happening. Someone who just gets angry and decides to let loose. But I would say they're probably mentally compromised.
Oh yeah.
More than likely.
Yeah, those cases are a little more hard to screen if they are mental illnesses that we just don't know about.
Yep. And hey, Delicious, I just saw you popped on, so welcome on.
Welcome.
And well as Griswold, and I'm sorry I haven't looked at this list in a while, guys, so thank you guys for coming on and being part of our show today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take another comment from Jay.
Far more obeyers of the law. You just completely made that up. That's a stat you just made up in your head, and it makes complete zero sense. So if we're going to be here, could we talk facts and just not talk what your personal interests are? Thanks.
Wait, what did you say at the beginning?
Far more obeyers of the law. I don't remember saying anything about obeying the law. If you're talking about the 3 million defenses of firearms.
No, he said that before you said that.
Oh, okay.
But I think he's talking about law-abiding gun owners versus non-law-abiding gun owners, which, I mean, there are far more law-abiding gun owners than there are criminals.
Right.
Yeah, that's refuting that is like refuting that the sky is blue.
Yeah, the simple fact that there aren't millions upon millions of people shooting people every day should be enough evidence that gun owners are naturally law-abiding. I'll look up the statistic for you, but that should be enough evidence for your eyes.
Yep. Go ahead and take another message while you're doing that, Spencer.
Yep.
Another thing, the NRA owns you guys, okay? It's not the government. The NRA is the problem. The NRA is the problem. You don't need pre-screening, mental screening for anything to purchase a gun. There's your issue. Start screening people's mental abilities, and then you may have some more success. But until the NRA is running the show over there in the U.S., you guys are done.
Okay, so let me just add my statistic real quick. You can go to ncsportsmenslaw.com, which states that concealed carry permit holders are more law-abiding than the average citizen.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the NRA, honestly, I mean, I like the NRA, and I see some of their stuff, and but I don't see all their stuff. I don't pay for them. I don't have a membership, stuff like that. Honestly, I think some of that might be due to COVID and the fact that I haven't been able to work a job in a while. But I mean, NRA is great and all, but it's not like they own me or whatever. I own myself. I like guns. I like shooting guns, and I completely support Second Amendment. Yeah, pretty simple.
That's kind of the same for me. I support NRA because it supports the Second Amendment. I used to be a much more involved person with the NRA, but now I watch, okay, the NRA. I read the headlines about the NRA, but that's about it.
Yeah. They're a means to an end, just like a lot of things. When it comes to a lot of things that have to do with the government, it's a means to an end. For instance, presidents right there off the bat, right? What do you support a president for? You support a president to represent your interests or to represent your beliefs, right? That is like the definition of means to an end. So the president is the means in order to accomplish or support your beliefs. That's what they are. So President Donald Trump, he was the means to an end. He was the means to a more secure border, to a better economy. He was to securing gun rights for Americans and not fighting them always. That's what he was. And so that's why me and Spencer support him. Me and Spencer support gun rights because they're a means to an end. One, we enjoy them. And two, they guarantee all the other rights that we have.
Right. All right. We've actually cut down the number of messages we have. Feel free to add more, guys, and make sure to share the show to anyone else that you think might be interested. This is a topic that not a lot of people are thinking about, especially when it comes to carrying a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Take another message. Thank you, Chrissy. We'll take your message now.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, and I was being stalked by an ex-boyfriend who very visibly, verbally, in writingly, expressed how he wanted to harm me, and also has tried things to put me in harm's way, has actually put me in danger before, and I had to wait a little over a year and 6 months just to hear that I can't carry a gun in New Jersey. So, yeah, do what you will with that information.
Wow. That is insane. My only suggestion, I know that maybe you've already done this. If you can, move out of New Jersey.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to college there, or whatever it may be, but get the crap out of Dodge. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's horrible he does that, and I believe, honestly, here's my opinion on men like that. Kay, I hate how men create that kind of stigma. You know, there are women who believe that men just suck because they've been mistreated by certain individuals who are pieces of crap. For instance, any man who commits an act of rape, I believe the punishment should be either be capital punishment or he gets turned into a eunuch and put in jail for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
You know, as far as verbal and mental abusing you, that guy should go in front of a jury and be tried. Absolutely be tried for that. I mean, sometimes there are some instances where people will only try individuals for, you know, like when you're married, and so cases where it's boyfriend girlfriend get dismissed. He's seen that happen on the news several times before, but no, obviously, I just believe anybody who commits abuse against another person should be tried for that, and it should be taken seriously, not something like, you know, the Me Too movement where it's just turned into a game. But I mean, serious, like, you know, take things for real. It's bad and it's horrible, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah, and I hope you were able to. I hope you're still here talking to us, so I'm glad that things didn't escalate to that point. But I hope you were able to find another less effective way to defend yourself. I personally try to carry a knife with me as well, and that is my backup because a gun is far more effective in most situations.
Yep, absolutely. Taking a message also by you, Christy, so thank you.
Also, to add to my last message, the police force here sucks. I have currently still, since then, no protection, and it has not stopped. It has actually, in fact, gotten worse. And if I'm being completely honest and not exaggerating in the slightest, I am very scared for my life every day.
Yeah. Again, that is very sad to hear.
I would recommend calling the cops and like showing up at the police department and saying, I'm being assaulted. I need police protection. If they don't support you, then, like we said, get the crap out of Dodge, because obviously that place is not doing anything for you. Move to another state where either you can own a gun yourself or the cops are competent. Because there are just some places where, especially in very liberal areas, where the police are so weighed down by a billion different laws and procedures that they are almost unable to do anything. Or maybe your cops are just bad. That could be it. I'm not going to assume that. I don't usually assume that anyone is just bad, unless their actions say so, or, you know, I can see that. So it sounds like it could be either way. But I'm really sorry you had to go through that. And if you were, I hope you're out of it. It sounds like you're not. But if you can get out of it, I'm recommending either move away, or, you know, find a way to protect yourself. Right. Because that's really what it comes down to. It's a matter of self-protection.
And if possible, like I was just talking about, if you are able to carry a knife, I strongly suggest it, because a knife is a way to show someone that, okay, listen, you're obviously a woman, and maybe a guy is going to look at you, or this ex-boyfriend is going to look at you and say, well, she's weak, I can take her on. Yes, but it's much harder to take on someone who has a knife. So I would suggest getting a knife and, like Colson said, talk to the local police and try to get maybe a restraining order filed against him.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, it sounds like you're in a dangerous situation. So I things just like abruptly ending it with him could prove to be counter-effective. So yeah, cops are your best in thing. If not, just find somebody. People will help you if you can find someone.
Yeah. All right.
I believe that most people are good.
I think generally, especially when it comes to this type of situation, I think a lot of people are as disgusted as we are in these types of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Another comment.
So I've also heard it put another way. There are a lot of car accidents on the road caused by drunk drivers. So instead of letting everybody die by being killed by drunk drivers, we'll just take all the rights to drive away from the people that aren't drunk drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, I mean, and in a realistic sense too, or probably even more realism. When you talk about driving is the number one cause of death in America right now. Aside from medical things, I think driving is, or maybe it is the number one cause of death. One sec, let me do some research on that. But anyway, it's a very high cause of death in America, and you don't see anyone obligating for banning cars in America, but they ban guns, of which the majority of deaths caused by guns, is a result of suicide and is not a result of homicide.
Right, and that's actually a very good analogy. But to add on top of it, driving a car is not a right; it's a privilege.
Yeah,
owning a gun is a right, and so for me at least, I would rather own a gun and have to walk or bike everywhere than own a car but not have access to a gun, because guns are a fundamental right, whereas driving a car is something that can be taken away, or is something that is granted if you pass, certain tests, whereas being able to own a gun is something that is guaranteed to you by your natural God-given rights.
Yep. Absolutely. And looking at statistics right now, it seems that heart disease is actually the highest cause of death in America.
Right.
With cars not even making, well, it might be included in this accidents, which is the third highest cause of death in America. So that might be it. It goes heart disease, cancer, and then accidents, which is labeled as unintentional injuries. Cars could be labeled in there. I'll look for more information on that and get back to you guys later, or maybe next episode. So yeah, but cars are also a big higher death. They cause more death than guns. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just in case you didn't understand that, most of the killings with guns are done by people who wish to kill people, and that's not legal, so we'll just take all legal ability to own guns away from everyone. See the relation there?
Yeah.
Yes, I like your analogy. It is true that it's not violence, of one person against another is not the highest. It is suicide. But yes, I do very much so support and agree with your analogy there. In terms of cars, if why take it? It's the same kind of reason that people say gun violence is, people should take away guns because that'll stop the violence. It's the same excuse for, well, if you take away the pencils, is everyone just going to do perfect on tests? If you take away the spoons, is no one going to be fat anymore? It's not how reality works. The reality is a very complicated and diverse thing that does not start or end with taking away guns. That won't actually solve much of anything. For instance, those individuals who have gotten to the point where they are going to commit suicide with a firearm. Do you think that there's maybe a little bit of prior thought has gone into how they're going to commit suicide? If you take away that, they could easily slice their wrists. Maybe this is a little too violent for some people, so, beep. Maybe there's lots of different methods to commit suicide. Guns is just like the easiest, but I would make a very high bottom dollar. I don't have stats on it because obviously we haven't done it, so we can't see stats on it because stats don't exist. For what could happen if we were to take guns away.
2/3 of gun deaths are suicides. So you're arguing for 1/3 of gun deaths, which admittedly I don't know the exact number on, but is, relatively high. But that is just like you said, Jennifer, you said that they are committed by people that want to hurt people. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a gun, a knife, a pen, whatever it is, someone is going to try and kill or hurt people. And someone may argue, yes, but a gun allows them to kill more people. And my counter argument would be that a good guy with a gun is able to stop that and able to save a lot more people as well. A much higher number than the amount of people that are killed by guns.
Yep, absolutely. I was talking about 600,000 people dying from heart disease and accidents, which include 100 or almost just shy of 200,000 people dying from unintentional accidents, which does include a number of accidents from guns. And as I'm finding out right now, or as I'm showing right now from the CDC's website, is also includes some accidental discharges from guns. But 300 in 2017. 39,773 people died from gun-related injuries in the U.S., according to the CDC. And that includes accidents, murders of every different kinds. It includes suicides. And it's showing right now 37% of that was murder, 3% of that was other, and 60% of that was suicide. So just shy of 2/3. In 2017, those numbers are probably similar now. There haven't been any real changes as of since, except for Biden's laws.
Which, you want to go through these 3 messages, and then we can move on to that?
Yep, and we will. Yeah, it tied right in, didn't it? I didn't even think of that. So we'll go ahead and take 3 more messages, and we'll get into Biden's gun policy.
It's a very old saying, but if you take away the guns, then only the bad guys have guns. It's overused, but it's overused because it's true. Seriously, if only the bad guys have guns, and that is what would happen, who's going to protect you when those bad guys come to your house, or Walmart, or church, or wherever?
The reasoning that liberals use is the police would protect us, but these are also the same liberals that parade in the BLM riots and say that we need to defund or kill all of our officers. So I'm seeing some inconsistencies with their arguments.
That's actually a good point that I didn't think about off the top of my head. But yeah, we should defund the police. Okay, so you're advocating that everyone should have a gun? Well, no, that's not what I'm advocating. Well, then what are you advocating?
What they're advocating is we be defenseless and we just trust that everybody is going to be good and not do anything wrong, and that we are not allowed to prepare for worst case scenario.
Right. And there are a couple statistics that I looked up for. The average response time of police is 5 to 20 minutes. Even within 5 minutes, there's a lot of damage that a bad guy can do with a gun or a knife or whatever you want. But if someone has a gun on there, that response time goes from 5 minutes to maybe 5 seconds, and the number of lives that are saved is incalculable.
Yep, absolutely. We have 3 more comments. So Jennifer's thank you for throwing in comments, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Go ahead and take one more of yours right now.
All right.
What about in countries like, let's see, Cuba or Venezuela or even Nazi Germany, when guns were removed from everyday man before there was an oppressive regime brought in? You can't discard the thought that it's a possibility for it to happen here. If they remove your right to bear arms, I mean, even look at places like Australia, who during COVID have done such restrictive lockdowns and are forcing people to be vaccinated against their will, and got rid of their guns before all that happened. You have to see stuff like that too.
Yes,
So don't
yes.
things like that make you grateful to be in America?
Oh, yeah. But it's also a cautionary tale. She cited your favorite example there, Colson.
Nazi Germany.
Yeah, there are many countries where I know Germany's way of operating off the top of my head. Hitler went through and got rid of the average man's guns before he really did anything else, because if you have an unarmed populace, then when you try to do something, the populace, all it can really do is say, okay, well, you can step on me because I can't fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. It removed all of the ability to fight back. Something that's not talked about very often, well, I think I try to talk about it so people can understand, is that the average German in Nazi Germany was not a Nazi. They were not a Jew-killing psychopath. They were just an everyday individual, and they faced extreme hardship under Hitler's rule too. I mean, they had lots of trials and hardships. They were oppressed and they were beaten. They were, if they didn't obey, they were put in the same kind of concentration camps that some of the Jews were. Even though it's not talked about, this kind of stuff did happen. And it all started with the removal of the guns, removal of the citizens to protect themselves, removing their First Amendment rights so they could just speak about propaganda whenever they wanted and spew it, and people would believe it. These were the first steps, and that's how it led to Nazi Germany. I use Nazi Germany because it's easy for people to understand the consequences, which is millions of Jews murdered. So there you go. Very simple to understand the results of what kind of happened. You have a world-conquering psychopath try to take over the world. Oh man, I had something good I was going to say, and I totally forgot it.
Don't know.
That's okay. I'll remember it later.
All right. Let's take these last 2 from Jennifer, and then we can move on to Biden. And
yep.
we're loving all the comments that everyone is leaving. Please leave it and share the show with others so that way they can leave their comments too.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So I had a debate recently with a private journalist. His name was Oliver Marcus Malloy. He runs Reddit, a Twitter, and an Instagram page. Anywho, so he made the claim on his account that the Nazis actually promoted owning a gun, so that way the average citizen could go ahead and gun down Jews whenever they wanted to. Obviously, this is wrong. Every piece of evidence and every piece of historical evidence says, no, that's wrong. But he believed it nonetheless, and he had gotten a following of about 200 people who also believed it, listed in the comment section of after he made this post. And I was appalled when I saw this. It just popped into my feed, and I was like, what the heck? So I put a comment in inviting him to debate with me where he got his statistics. He cited Reddit as his statistics.
Really?
As his reliable news source. I cited the History Channel, Encyclopedia Britannica, and all the other, tons of other places like that. Also the Smithsonian. And he ended up blocking me. So, ended up blocking me, and then I can't. And then I still see what he's posting, which is just absolute insanity. But he has a following, so it's worth noting that when you guys are making these debates with people, provide as much statistics as you can, because some people are either brainwashed or unwilling to see the truth, and the truth is that gun control does not work.
Amen.
It is bad. Yep. All right. Take another message. Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, and the reason that someone in another country may not understand the way that our gun laws work in the United States is because they weren't given those fundamental rights. When our forefathers founded our country, they saw that there would be a need for possibly ownership of guns by all men and women, since the world has changed, to protect us from a tyrannical government, because they saw tyranny in their own government and knew that the only way that our country could remain free would be to own guns.
Absolutely. It was divine, God-given insight. As a Christian, I believe that George Washington was guided divinely. But even if you don't, you have to admit that his level of foresight and preparation for a future of one of the greatest country in America, or sorry, in the world, which is America, that's outstanding and jaw-dropping.
Yeah, and I will refute the argument that some people give, which is that the founding fathers only intended the Second Amendment to be for muskets. Well, if you posit that, you're arguing that the people that created the Constitution, which has stood for over 200 years, also could not ever imagine technological advancement in the field of weaponry, even though they were already in an era where I believe they were called pockle guns. There was some sort of prototype revolver already in existence at that time. So you would have to imagine that the founding fathers were so dumb that they couldn't think that things would ever progress.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have sorry, real quick. You have, for instance, talking about, if you want to talk about people who say, the Constitution is old, it's outdated, or like I've heard the musket excuse too. They made it for muskets. It doesn't count for the modern day. Well, then they made the freedom of religion was mainly intended so that way the government could not create a single church of Church of England, and it was mainly made so everyone could exercise their freedom of Christian rights in order to do whether they were Protestant or Christian or Baptist or Catholic, and even any of those, or evangelical. That's what they mainly made it for. But as time went on and the United States become the melting pot of the world, the great country that it is now, we have Muslims, Buddhists, we have atheists, we have any belief that you want. I would say maybe not any belief in the world, but a lot of belief, the majority of beliefs in the world do also exist here in the United States, and those are due to our Constitution. So if you want to say our Constitution is outdated, well, then you're also saying that it's outdated to allow people to say what they want, and it's outdated to allow people to believe what they want, which means we need to get rid of anything besides Christianity. We need to get rid of anything that refutes anything except for what the founding fathers believed, if that's really what people want to believe, because some people actually believe that. And I mean, that's insane. This country is great because we have founding fathers that left it open-ended. You have the freedom of religion, which means you can choose. I could choose right now to create a religion where unicorns created the world, and that's just how it happened right now. Okay, I can do that right now. That's America, okay, because I have freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
that's my refute for people who make that argument.
I don't have much to add to that. That was pretty good.
Yep.
All right.
I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah. Let's take this last comment and then we can move on.
So how anyone doesn't see that it's connected to remove guns and defund the police as being an attack on our society, I have not a clue, because I think that most of us on the side of guns see very clearly that there is definitely an attack on our society, and removal of both of those things leaves us wide open.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. All right. Well, we have taken all our comments right now. Thank you guys, they of you who are currently listening live. Appreciate you guys very much. And we appreciate everyone who has given a comment so far today. We are currently an hour and 11 minutes on the dot in. And we are going to be moving on to talking about Biden's gun policy. Sorry, dictator's gun policy.
There you go. Former president.
Yep. Biden the dictator. All right. So for those of you who are not aware of what has happened recently, former Vice President Joseph Biden just issued some more executive orders, being the dictator that he is. And he essentially called for further regulation or banning of was referred to as ghost guns. They are called 80% lowers. They're mainly for ARs. For those of you who don't know what an 80% lower is, 80% lower is basically it's unfinished, so they have the basic shape done. Some of the inside shape isn't finished yet. It still needs a hole drilled and a serial number stamped on it. The reason that these exist is because one main company, for instance, at Anderson Manufacturing, they make guns, mainly AR parts. They will make the part and then they will sell it, resale, obviously. They will sell it to other manufacturers who will then finish making the rest of the lower, imprint their logo and a ATF serial number on there. That is completely legal and absolutely okay. And that allows for that's just capitalism at work. One company can make it and then sell it to other companies who can finish it. Pretty simple, right? Makes a lot of sense. Anybody who doesn't make sense, you probably need to go take an economics class again. Anywho, so Biden wants to ban these or call for regulation of them, which would essentially put any business that does resale of 80% lowers out of business, because that is a large stream of revenue. They are decently expensive and an essential building component of every single AR-15. So that is just another one of those steps trying to ban AR-15s and get a foothold on gun control. And then furthermore, he's banned pistol braces. For those of you who don't know what those are, it is federally mandated that a barrel for an AR-15 be at least 16 inches long. Anything shorter, and you have to pay a tax stamp, and you have to have an arm brace for them because they are classified by the ATF as a quote-unquote pistol. Don't know how it classifies as a pistol. The barrel's still 15 inches long, and it's like an inch shorter than a regular AR. But oh well, that's the law. I don't like it, but that's how it is. Anywho, so keeping that in mind, if it's less than 15 inches, they have to pay for a tax stamp. I think the tax stamp. I think the tax stamp is about $200, if I remember correctly. And then you also have to have an arm brace that replaces the buttstock with like a stick with a strap coming off the back of it. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, go look it up online. Can't share images on stereo, obviously. It's pretty self-explanatory what they are. Makes a lot of sense. It's just a strap that replaces the buffer tube and then has something to hold it on and strap around your arm. A lot of people don't even use the strap. They just put the buttstock against their shoulder and deal with the pain. But so Biden's trying to ban these. And really, I mean, honestly, neither of these two factors will have, I guarantee you, absolutely zero impact on any kind of form of gun violence. Absolutely none. Because 80% lowers doesn't affect criminal purchasing of ARs, because main big companies that manufacture the lowers don't sell massive amounts of 80% lowers to illegitimate criminal organizations. So there's that. And pistol braces don't have any effect, because criminals could just buy a gun that's 1 inch longer in the barrel, and boom, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. There's actually a very good piece from Deseret News, Deseret.com. I don't know how many people read it. It's not one of the big names like Fox News or CNN, but one of the lines in there is that all these executive orders and these laws that he's trying to push for are essentially just there for political theater. It's something to say, look, in his very slow, uncomprehending voice, he is going to tell people, look, I was the guy who got these things signed in. Aren't I such a good guy? I was such a good former vice president. Whereas if you look at the consequences of these laws, all they would do is affect the law-abiding citizen rather than make it harder for people to actually get guns. And I'll go ahead and read a quote from him that absolutely stunned me. It's his, some of you may have heard of it. It's his quote about the amendments, and this is from Fox News that reported this, so you can go ahead and find the quote there. He said that no amendment is absolute, talking about the Second Amendment specifically, but again, any amendment. And I think that is absolutely insane. The fact that he can get away with saying no amendment is absolute, and people don't call him on that. If President Trump had said the First Amendment isn't absolute, I want the press out of here, out of the White House briefing or whatever, then the press would have lost their mind. But when Biden says no amendment to the Constitution is absolute, from the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning, the Second Amendment existed. Certain people weren't allowed weapons, yada, yada. So the idea is bizarre to suggest that some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution. They are. What he's recommending is restrictions on guns and restrictions that will affect only the law-abiding citizens. Sure, there may be a few criminals that this affects, because a criminal may want, like Colson was talking about, a shorter barrel. But if a criminal really wants, they can just cut down their barrel. So that is already a criminal act. That is illegal for you to do. But it's just insane that Biden is doing this, and not a lot of people are calling him on that.
Yep. Sorry, I'm not sure. I just disappeared for a second. Some friends came to the door. First time for a while. Yeah, but none of his policies, they're all politically motivated. Like Spencer said a little bit ago, they're all political theater. They don't have any real consequences or effects. It's just Biden trying to gain points, pretty much. I mean, we have liberals who have been calling for many years about saying, okay, we need to make gun laws. In reality, we're just kind of like, okay, it's never going to happen, because it's like their main pushing point. If they start actually making gun laws, they're going to lose their main pushing point for the next election or whatever. Except Biden is actually now doing it. He's created executive orders, albeit these executive orders do nothing. That's why they are political theater, because they get him points with his voters because he's done a really crappy job so far, and a lot of people are disappointed with him. And he spouts these like grand acts of valor that he's committed that are gonna make a vast difference in gun deaths in America. In reality, they're really not. They're not going to do anything to help really anybody. They're just playing around, and he's just screwing with everybody. And making everybody think, oh, hey, I'm some grand guy that's going to change everything. I'm going to make everything better for you guys. In reality, he's done nothing.
Yeah, we can go through a couple of his comments. One comment he said was that, quote, "We should also ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country." He said there's no reason a person would need a weapon that can hold 100 rounds. And
let it be known there's very few guns that usually hold 100 rounds in the United States of America. Very few guns in the world that hold another 100 rounds usually.
And on top of that, so that 100 rounds is an exception, but I believe in California, you're limited to 10 rounds per mag. And the general number of rounds per mag is, I believe, around 30, mainly for an AR. And that number is not that high when you think that it takes more than one round per person that you're trying to take down. So if there are 10 people attacking you, you've only got 3 shots to take out those 10 people.
Yeah.
3 shots per person.
Yeah, and I enjoy talking about hypotheticals here on the show. Mainly because I have fact to back up my hypotheticals, but people spout hypotheticals all the time that don't make any sense to anybody and have no facts to actually back them up, which is what you'll hear from liberals all the time, talking about how, we need to ban guns because it's going to make things better in the country. Well, it's not really a hypothetical anymore. They've actually done it in places like California. They made it almost impossible to get a gun. Obviously, like you've seen New Jersey from Kylie a little bit ago. Sorry, Kylie, for everything you've had to go through. And then you see that in Chicago and a lot of big democratically run cities. It's half impossible to get a gun, and yet these are also some of the cities with the highest gun deaths. They have gangs running rampant. Like that's crap. Like what the heck's going on here? These are like whole groups of people who have guns, do things like drive-by shootings and crap like that. These are the cities that pronounce and spout peace all the time. In reality, they have really, really big problems, and these are also the same cities that say that we're going to ban cops, even though we have some of the biggest issues with violence of anybody in the whole country. That's us right now, and we're going to ban the cops because that's going to fix everything.
Yeah, and like you're talking about, if you're in a place that's generally more democratic and there are gangs, especially in like Detroit and Chicago, where you've got literal gangs of people that are roaming around or are attacking other gangs or whatever, you need a weapon that holds more than a few shots, because if you have a group of people attacking you, you need to be able to take as many of them out as possible. If you have a 10-round magazine in any gun, really, and you're attacked by more than 4 people, this is just me guessing at the numbers here. If you're attacked by more than 4 people, I'd say your chances of surviving that go way down, because you do not have the ability to shoot off the number of shots needed to take those guys out.
Yeah, and when Biden refers to high capacity magazines, we talked about this before, and they kind of bounce the number around, but they're generally referring how their consensus seems to be about 10 rounds a magazine. Let it be known, anything besides a super subcompact. Okay, I'm talking like when you talk compact pistols, a lot of times those are used for personal, like you talked about earlier, concealed carry. You talk about 10 rounds. That means you're going to ban those pistols. You're talking a revolver, and that's about it, because even those subcompact pistols, well, that's compact, then subcompact. That subcompact pistols usually hit about 13 rounds a magazine. A Smith & Wesson M&P right after that, that's a 17 or maybe it's 18 rounds. Crap, forget. A magazine. Dang, I love that gun too. But then you have things, but mainly he was talking about like a third. When he says high capacity magazines, he says numbers like 100 rounds, and people go, "Ooh, big black scary gun that looks tactical. It's evil." In reality, it is not usual at all. In fact, it's highly unusual. They do exist. They're called drum mags. and they usually actually do not hold 100 mags, unusual unless they are triple drum mag, and those are like $300, crazy expensive. But you can still get them. Honestly, I really don't care if he wants to ban 100 round drug magazines, except that that's just another violation of our constitutional rights. Sorry, a little weird. But most AR-15s usually use a 30 round mag that holds 30 bullets. It holds 30 bullets now. It'll hold 30 bullets tomorrow. You can try packing them more in if you want, but you ain't gonna get any more in. You want anything bigger than that, and you're talking drum mags, which are, and if anyone doesn't know what they are, look them up online. Once again, cannot show pictures on stereo. There's a picture like a big circle at the end of a lollipop, except the lollipop is flat and two-dimensional. And you picture usually they hold about 40 rounds for a single drum. You put a double drum, they go to about 50 or 60 depending on what brand you get, and you can get them up to like 100 if you get like a triple drum. So yeah, more nonsense people are spouting that is non-factual. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, and do you want to take these comments, or we can move on to another insane quote that Biden has?
Yes, I'll take these last two comments, and Smile More, which is Griswold. Thank you for coming on. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, glad to hear.
I do believe that the best thing that is coming out of these crazy things that Biden is doing and saying is probably that we are learning that at the state level is where most of the control in this country is, and that if something is made a law federally, it has much less effect over us than we originally all thought. And that's why our governors and senators and congressmen have been able to go in and write bills in our states that protect us from what the laws that Biden is trying to put in place, or the executive orders that Biden is trying to put in place. So at least that's another wake-up wave.
Yeah, also realizing that he's an idiot.
You're just now realizing that, Colson?
I know, I guess I'm a little late to the party.
Yeah, a little. But yeah, that's another thing that our founding fathers put in the Constitution was they gave more and more power as the size of government shrunk. So they gave a very large amount of power for the local city government or county government to manage affairs, and then it moved up to the state, and then finally the federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you could hopefully some courts are going to challenge Biden's executive orders, and then they will be dismissed. That's what I'm hoping for, because heaven knows no one in Congress is going to do it. The Democrats have the majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, so they have the majority there. So that's just how that is. So I'm hoping that some court will challenge it and get it revoked, because no one else will.
Yeah, we can hope so.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Smile More.
Yep.
Hey guys, yeah, you're mentioning Democrat-run cities like New York City, for example. It is extremely hard to get a gun permit. Concealed carry is pretty much only for law enforcement, but it is possible to get a gun license, and it's called a premises permit, meaning you can keep it at your home and you can travel to and from like a range, but you're not allowed to use it for actual self-defense. Like if you did use it in self-defense, let's say in the case of a home invasion, odds are you're probably going to be in deep shit. Oh, I didn't mean to curse. Deep trouble. Sorry. Oops, my bad.
It's okay, Griswold.
Yeah.
We're not too sticklers. Just just don't be oh crap, what was his name? Gorilla.
Or a gorilla, yeah.
gorilla. Sheesh. And sorry, and for those who don't know, I'm referencing, we have a old guy who used to leave a couple comments on our show. Crazy liberal. Pretty much nuts. Certifiably insane, actually. He believed that we should pretty much just reverse the KKK on cops.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. But
Yeah.
I actually didn't know about premises permits. That's interesting and definitely a restriction on your rights. That's crazy that they can say, yes, you can have a gun and store it, but if you try to use it even in your own home, you are going to get in trouble. That is an insane notion.
Oh, yeah, that is absolutely nuts. I didn't know that either. But I mean, what can you do? It's New York. You got Como. I mean, you guys are already pretty screwed anyway with Como. A lot of Comos in there. I mean, yeah, wow. But you know, it's New York City. Pretty liberal anyway. Go ahead and take another comment here. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you guys for everyone tuned in live. I said this was a little bit ago. Say it again now. Tuned in live. Yeah. Who's listening now and leaving comments? You guys are why we do this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Duh.
Oh no.
Crap. No. Wait. Lady Bomber. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I double tapped on your message. My bad. Could you resend that?
Yeah, we'll play it if you resend it.
Yep.
For now, we'll play in its message.
I'm going to have you do that so I don't screw it up.
I just listened to Griswold's comment about not being able to have a gun in New York City. I suppose it's the same in like LA and maybe some other cities. As a British person who obviously doesn't live in America, why is that the case? Because I thought, it was one of your constitutional rights to own a gun. So why have they taken away a constitutional right off New Yorkers? Like, I find that really weird.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America. We're the good people. We're the law-abiding citizens, not law-abiding citizens. Where the Constitution only lives outside of democratic cities.
Well, and I don't know how much you know about our government. Our government was set up so that states could, like I was talking about earlier, do a large amount of the governing rather than the federal government. So if California wants to, or New York or another state wants to restrict the number of guns people can have or restrict the type of guns or whatever it may be, then America was set up as 50 individual experiments to see which way works the best. And if it doesn't work for California, then either California can change it or people can move away from California to get away from it. In my personal opinion, I think that the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment guarantee to firearms, and the First Amendment guarantee to speech, press, religion, etc., should be enforced across every state, and there should not be major restrictions on guns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Constitution-wise, we have the right to Second Amendment, and it doesn't say you have the right to guns. Oh, except for New York or California or any other democratic-run city where they can do whatever you want to you, and they can completely just screw you over. So that's not what the Constitution says. The Constitution says you have a right to guns, with no provisos and no little hidden backdoor small text. You guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, thank you, Pimp My Sniper, for I find it entertaining how you have more sense than a lot of liberals who support gun control, and you don't even live in the country. But thank you for your comment. Oh my gosh.
Okay, Lady B went ahead and...
Yep, I'm going to have you push it so I don't ruin it.
All right.
That's quite all right, gentlemen. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Colson, Mr. Spencer. Good afternoon. How are you? Just wanted to bring this to your attention. I don't know if either one of you gentlemen are familiar with a case Caniglia versus Strom. That was basically what I was in reference to, what I was referring to. And if you want to look up the court case, it's docket 20-157. If you want to look this up, you can find this court case on supremecourt.gov. Also, you can find this, I think, on the Cornell Law website by Cornell University. Excellent website. And apparently the most recent things that came down on this particular court case, there was an amicus brief that was filed by the Biden administration. They were trying to do something called a community caretaking exception clause, as well as I'm going to put the rest in the next comment.
Okay.
Also, along with the amicus brief that was filed with by the Biden administration, also there was oral arguments that were presented on March 24th of this year. And this particular case has 2A and 4A implications, which gives teeth to the no-knock warrant. So it's almost like they're trying to backdoor the Constitution and trying to erode it to confiscate guns. So the 4A, that violates the illegal search and seizure. A man's home is his castle, and obviously everybody's well aware of the 2A regarding bearing arms. I don't know if either one of you gentlemen are familiar with this case, but again, the docket number for it is 20-157.
So I'm not personally not responsible. Familiar with the case, but I will go ahead and read what you're talking about. In the Fourth Amendment, it says the right of the people against unreasonable searches and seizures, and to be secure in their persons, houses, etc.
Yeah, so I'm looking at her thing right now. I just went to just search right up. The question presented was whether the community caretaking exception to the Fourth Amendment's warrant extends to the home. So she was straight up when she said it's trying to backdoor the Constitution. That is nuts. Further evidence of Biden's ineptitude and communism.
Careful. Some people like communism in America.
Honestly, and the day America goes communist, I'm moving to Canada. I didn't think I could ever go to Canada, but you know, you could go out in the middle of nowhere in Canada, and it doesn't even matter that you're still living in Canada because ain't nobody ever going to see you except for the Mounties and the Moose.
That's a fair point. No, the day America goes communist, there's no point in living.
Yep, that's it. American can't go communist. Nope, I gotta hold out for that one. Hold out against that one.
We know it won't. All right.
Thank you, Jennifer, for leaving so many comments today and generating so much for us. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Loving it.
So here's the other issue that's going on in the United States right now. So the reason that the liberal strongholds, as we'll call them, get away with restricting people's rights so much is because at one point in time, someone who was elected to office had to fear whether or not they would be reelected by the people that lived in their state or city or whatever. But now that we're seeing, it's clear to me, I don't know, you guys may not want to go here with this, but it's clear to me that these people have found a way to stay in office whether the people in that area want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. The government of the United States was set up so that elected officials would cater to what their people want in order to stay in office. But they have worked around that so that now, instead of doing that, they do what they want to get done, basically, and then have lobbyist groups and other people run ads so that people that haven't been really paying attention to the past 2, 4, 6 years say, well, I'm not dead yet, so this person must be doing a good job, and vote for them again.
Yeah, but I mean, they also lie about their achievements, or they do absolutely nothing until the last minute, right before the election. So, I mean, anybody who's paying attention can see, oh,
Right.
look, they did something, and it helped me. You know, whether that's in a Democratic city, whether they're just, they're diving deeper into welfare or they're giving people more, because the biggest thing for them seems to be handouts. By giving people things to make people like them, because everybody likes free stuff, right? I mean, sometimes free is overpriced for, stuff, sometimes. Those of you who know it, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. But, they just play into people's emotions just enough to get back into office. And then you have individuals who sometimes, like lifelong Democratic voters, who they just decided, well, I'm always going to vote Democrat because Democrats or whatever, right? And then they don't actually look at the facts to find out that their candidate is trash. Biden. Cough, cough.
Hey, let's be nice to the old coot.
Yep. Emphasis on old.
Very old. All right.
Taking the one from Jennifer, yeah.
Yeah.
Want to have them voted in or not. And when that happens, these people become tyrannical and do whatever they want or whatever they're paid to do by an outside source. So if a corporation comes to them and says, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 towards your quote-unquote election to make sure that guns go away in your state, they do it. And there's no fear of repercussion from their constituents any longer because they buy elections now instead of winning them. So when they have that money, they can buy their election and they do whatever the highest bidder asked them to do.
Or, they just like sticking cargo ship in boatloads of blank ballots or filled in ballots that, just randomly give people elections because based off of what we saw when obviously with the clear fraud that went into the 2020 election, then sorry, yawning. They've obviously had practice doing that before. This isn't their first time, and so it makes total sense to me that anyone who voted against them, they just voted them out.
Yeah.
Outvoted them.
Yeah, I guess I preemptively answered or said some of what you were talking about. A lot of people, unfortunately, are sheeple, and they just look at someone, say, well, you know what, they're a Democrat, or, well, they're a Republican, I'm that, so I'm going to vote for them. And these corporations and these lobbyists and all these people give the politician money to run ads saying they're the greatest politician ever. And most people just don't really care and they vote along party lines or something along those lines.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. You want to take another message or?
Yeah, we got 2 more messages. Oh, we have 4 more messages. Dang. I looked away for 1 second. Okay. Yeah, let's take them. We're probably planning on ending around 5 today, guys. So we'll take these, try to get through them and answer them as fast as possible. So thank you guys. If you want to leave a couple more messages, we might have time for them, but just keep in mind that we're ending soon. So thank you guys.
Yeah. All right.
If anyone actually believes that they want to see communism come to the United States, they do not know realistically what communism is. And they need to actually research it and see what happened under communism in all of these countries and see, communism does not make things equal among everyone. It makes everyone poor and have nothing except for the elite ruling class. And that's why anyone in government would want that, because suddenly they become the elite ruling class and we all become nothing.
Yeah, my dad used to work as a night shift custodial manager at a local university, and there was one time where he was working, just walking around checking on his employees, and he hopped into the elevator with a couple who were both professors on campus, and they were wearing communist T-shirts. And he asked them, "What do you guys think about communism?" Well, he got into a conversation with them. One of them was an English professor. One of them was the history professor. Ironically, the history professor still believed in being in communism, so obviously he didn't know very much history. Kind of insane. But their reason for why they both supported communism, nobody else has done it right. So they actually acknowledged, and I've seen this on several other individuals who have spouted about how we need communism in America. Nobody else has done it right. We could do it right this time. We're going to get it right this time. If we were to do it, we would do it right. And I'm like, you guys obviously don't understand communism, and it's insane to me how you are a history professor or anyone who has obviously studied history to the point that they can know that no one else has done it right, that they think that of all the other people who've done it, they're going to be the ones to get it right this time. Like, obviously not. It's failed every single time, despite anybody's tries. And you know why? Here's for anyone who doesn't know. Inside of Karl Marx's journal, go look this up online. It actually says that he believed he was led by the hand of the devil, the hand of Satan. Okay.
Nice.
So, for anyone who's non-religious or not Christian, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not telling you what you have to believe, but I think we can all universally understand that the devil is just universally a bad guy, right? He's just bad universally. And so when someone says that they felt like they were inspired by the guy who represents evil and bad, I just go, huh, as if I didn't need any other reason to justify why communism is bad. It's like a no-brainer.
Listen, Colson, if 3,000 people throw a rock and it falls down to the ground, who are you to say that the time you throw a rock, it won't float up into the sky?
Oh, yeah, totally, because gravity's just going to stop working for all the 3 minutes that I throw a rock.
Exactly.
Sorry, 3 seconds.
That's exactly right. Communism has never worked. It will never work because it is set up fundamentally on the wrong principles. And exactly like you said, you can look at the foundation and realize, okay, there's something messed up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and take another comment here from Lady B.
Also, I want to also bring something else to your attention too as well. And I know none of us here likes communism, but in order to understand what we're up against, it's almost like you have to understand where we've been and understand what's happening currently. And there's a PDF document, and this is from the United States Congressional Record, and it's Appendix PP A34-A35. And this was put in the U.S. Congressional Record on Thursday, January 10th, 1963. And it was the extension of remarks of Honorable A.S. Herlong Jr. of Florida in the House of Representatives. Basically, it's the 45 points of the Communist Manifesto, but you'll see it entitled under Current Communist Goals. And there's 2 points I want to bring up in this manifesto, and I'll put them in my next comment.
Yep.
Okay, regarding the 2 points of the Communist Manifesto, 2 of the 45 points of the Communist Manifesto. Point number 3, develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. I will repeat point number 3 once more. Point number 3, develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. Point number 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Once again, I repeat, Point 15, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. We clearly know that the Democratic Party has completely, they're pretty much communist straight through and through. But I would highly recommend you look up that PDF document.
Yeah, and
oh my gosh.
I pulled it up. I can send it to you later, Colson. But one of the things is exactly what you were talking about, Colson. Point 17 in this document says, quote, get controls of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get controls of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks.
Dang. That's disturbing on the most fundamental levels. I'm starstruck. I didn't know that existed. Thank you so much, Lady B, for bringing that to my attention. I had no clue.
I knew it existed, but I'd never actually read it. This is insane.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that's wow.
Yeah, and just glancing through here, there are a lot of things in here that they have either done or definitely gotten much closer to than I would like them to have done.
Wow, that's disturbing. Okay, hopefully the dog's got something. Wow, that's depressing. Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and listen to him real quick.
Biden is a fucking joke. He's a puppet to the left. He does what they say. He's not the president. I wonder who the fuck is. They're just trying to make this country like fucking zombies like China. Because China owns Biden too. What do you guys think about that? This country needs Trump back.
Amen. And yes, China absolutely has Biden. He's just a giant puppet for the left. I probably agree with everything you said. He's incapable of making his own decisions. So he's just a puppet. He's controlled, and if he ever is revealed to be inept, they'll just throw Kamala in there, and she's a headstrong person that knows how to bring communism to America, so she'll just do it. Then you have obviously he's being made fun of and mocked because who is it? The Russian president invited him to a debate. China and North Korea mock him openly. What was that? I saw a meme online that displayed it perfectly. It was an image of Trump and an image of Biden with their backs against a tan wall. They must have been against the same tan wall somewhere in the White House, something. And they had edited the shadows behind the men, so it looked it portrayed the image of a lion behind Trump, and it portrayed the image of an old frail man with a walker behind Biden. I'm not sure if anyone else has seen that. I found it very entertaining, and it seemed more like a political commentary than just a little meme. Because that's exactly what it is. Trump, there's a reason why there was record low illegal immigrants to the nation, and why we had such great economy. We had strong international relations because Trump stopped pulling up with crap. He locked down our borders. He made allies, or maybe not directly allies, but he softened and created better relations with North Korea, the first American president on North Korean soil. Shook hands with Kim Jong-un and didn't need the U.S. Navy at his back to defend him. Just shook hands there. Didn't even have social Secret Service around him. Trump portrayed nothing but strength and American values 24/7, 365. It doesn't matter if he tripped on his words a little bit or if he seemed, a little unforgiving. He was American, and I loved it. Biden is communist. He portrays weakness all the time.
And Trump is unabashedly American. He isn't, I'm American, I like America, but other countries are good too. No, he went, America's the absolute best country, and he spoke to these countries, North Korea, Russia, and China, with the only language that they understand, which is strength. When you have a communist party, their only definition of strength is being loud and being strong. And Trump portrayed that perfectly, whereas anyone looks at Biden and within 5 seconds goes, this guy is not all here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, take, for instance, the Chinese Uyghur genocide, right? Imagine if that genocide had been committed and Trump had got reelected back into office right now, right? If I say Trump's still in office right now, oh my gosh, he would have sent in American forces. I'm not even sure. He might have sent them into China to deal with that crap. Because there is no way that Trump was going to deal with several million people being murdered while he was president. But when you flip to the other side of the coin, where Biden wins the election and he's our current president right now, what do you have? You have cultural norms.
Right.
Murdering 8 million people is a cultural norm we need to accept. Oh my gosh. I mean, guys, that's insane. I don't
anything that insane before.
I've heard people spout crap about how we need to kill the police. I've heard individuals say we need to burn entire cities to the ground just because this happened or that happened, especially during the riots. I heard a lot of this crap. I've heard some of the most insane things I never thought I would ever hear in my life, just in the past year or 2 years, really. Things I never really thought I would hear before in my life. And I have to say, nothing else is quite as appalling or shocking to me as Biden and his one line that isn't portrayed as half as much as him tripping up stairs of Air Force One. It is a cultural norm that we must accept for 8 million people to be murdered in genocide in China.
Yeah, genocide is not a cultural norm. Genocide is evil and evil and evil everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, the fact that I try to remain calm during these shows when I hear really ridiculous crap is the only reason why I'm not yelling right now. Because that, like, it's one of those things where, like, you hear it and it just boils your blood. That's what it does for me. That an American president says it's a cultural norm makes me just want to lock Biden up in prison for the rest of his life. I mean, I'm not even joking. It boils my blood that an American president of this great country would tell the entire world publicly is a cultural norm that we must accept that 8 million people died.
Yeah.
My brain wants to just blow up.
Yeah, I can't even comprehend. And the fact that the media covered for him, too, is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That, if Trump had said that line, instead
they'd
of
string him up by his toenails.
Yeah, they would have been like, how dare this person? But no, the media is just like, well, la-di-da, he's an old coot, so, don't pay him any mind.
If Trump had said that, he would have been impeached. Biden says it, whatever.
Right. All right, let's take this message, and then we're about at the end of our show. We can probably go soon, unless there are any more messages.
Yep, we'll take this and then probably wrap it up unless someone just throws in a last-minute message.
All right.
I'm really sorry for dropping. I didn't mean to drop such hard bombs or hard facts per se, but I wanted to bring these things very crystal clear and give you at least some concise sources, at least so that way you know exactly what we're up against here in this country. And the other thing I would also want you guys to look up whenever you two gentlemen get a chance, it's the Clergy Plan. And that's Klergi, the Clergy Plan. It gets very, very deep. I've been down this rabbit hole for quite some time. And the things that you will find, it is startling, but especially if you are Christian, you need to know about the Clergy Plan. It will shock you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That up.
I will look that up, yes. All right, well, it is 4:59. everybody. Eastern time. We are probably going to go ahead and wrap up right now. Thank you so much, everyone, for being active and talking to us today. It has been amazing. We had a great show today. Thank you guys. This is like probably one of our best shows we've ever had. I really enjoyed your guys' comments. You've been open and talkative. Thank you, Lady B, for your information. Me and Spencer will definitely been spending some time reviewing those. And thank you, everyone else, for your conversation and everything you said. You guys have been great. That's it. It's been a great episode.
Yeah. For anyone that's listening, if you enjoy this, share with other people. I know we went through kind of 3 major topics here, but there are a lot of people that don't know anything about Biden's gun plan or even what the heck a carry license is. So feel free to share the show now and if you're listening to this recorded, so that way people can get more information into their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for coming in today. I think we'll just go ahead and wrap up right there. We've had a great episode. I don't want to say something dumb and ruin it.
Yep.
Yeah, so just go ahead. My name is Colson.
My name is Spencer. We are 18 and American.
We are signing off. Everyone, thank you for coming in today. We'll be doing another episode on Saturday at 3 o'clock, same time. Please come in and leave your comments there. Thank you, guys. You've been amazing today.
Guys. Have a great day.
Yep. Thank you.